Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our channel, The Culture Community. It is Asha and Nikita here.
What's up, everybody?
And it's Labor Day weekend. So we thought, what better thing to talk about on Labor Day weekend than labor trafficking? Labor trafficking. And we do have to thank you all as our community for being so active and engaged and leaving comments, because Asha and I talk about them and we think about them, and it helps us to see what else we can talk about. So with that being said, there was a comment on one of my YouTube shorts. They're every platform, they have different names, but on one of the YouTube shorts, responding to a video that I posted about how I was feeling about being labor trafficked. It was just kind of silly, me dancing around my apartment, even though it's not a silly matter. And she said, maybe they're not, I think they were she. But anyway, that she just disagreed. So I'm going to show you the comment here. We have blocked out her username because we are not monsters. Oops. Hide that. And it says here, with all due respect, I wouldn't claim that the ICC was labor trafficking. Did they take advantage of us, serving everyone all the time without pay most of the time? Yes.
Sorry. Yes, they did.
I did not mean to laugh yet. Yes, but I would just consider that. I would just consider it that taking advantage of, not labor traffic.
Those are so different.
If I claim that, then does that mean I did that to them when I had them help out for my wedding and bridal shower and them planning my birthdays and watching my kids, etc., without any pay? LOL. Love your content, but I don't think I agree with this one. Okay, please, guys. Gosh darn it. I'm trying to navigate all these little toggle features. Okay. We're not monsters. We blocked out our name, and we know that this is because someone is suffering like a moral injury, or there's cognitive dissonance, or just a lack of information. And so, like, if this person ever wanted to get together and have tea, not to like talk like that, but like to share their story and laugh and things like I don't consider this person my personal enemy. I do think this is a bad take, you know. Asha's like, I don't agree with nothing what Nikita is saying right now. Asha is like, Nikita, shut up. That is not what
this is good. This is not Nikita's enemy. Nikita does not think this is a bad person.
Well,
it's okay if you don't have to. She don't have to.
See how we can think different things?
Yeah.
See how we can think different things and still love each other?
Exactly.
But okay, because then she took it so far as to leave a comment on the internet. That I think what I'm trying to say is, if you who are watching, if you ever think something different, or if you are wrestling with something and don't see it, like there are plenty of people that I know and love who have come to me and said, at first, I didn't like when you said that the service we did was love bombing. Like, it rubbed me the wrong way. But the more I watched your content, the more I talked about it, the more this, the more that, like, I've come around and I see it. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, we're not laughing at people and saying you're our enemy if like something is hard to hear. What makes this difficult is that she then posted all of this on the internet. Asha then left a response, and I'm just going to be very frank. Y'all don't ever want to see Asha in the comments, okay?
Yes, you do. I mean, no, just kidding.
Not to something like this. So Asha responded, and I don't know. I think maybe the person just didn't want any smoke. They have since deleted it. Luckily, I took a screenshot. If you go way, way back to our first couple of videos, we told you that's what we were going to do. So, because it's educational.
It is.
So now we have this whole video to talk about what is labor trafficking. Because what we don't like is when victims who have endured heinous treatment speak out and call things what they are. People who then come and say, oh, don't be so dramatic. Oh, don't be so extreme. Oh, don't be bitter. Oh, let's not slander. Oh, slander is a lie. Sorry. But slanders, where are we have receipts.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the TikTok? Screenshots. What is it? How does it go? I can't remember, but it's like screenshots, text messages, receipts, every day or everything. I can't find it, but it's like all these things. We have stories, we have testimonies, we have videos of the leaders themselves describing these things. We have emails, texts, DMs. Like, we're not making it. We don't have to. And frankly, we're tired and busy. We would not. There's so many other things we could be doing with our time. Anyway, I didn't expect the intro to be this long.
It's all good.
If you see me looking over, it's because I have my laptop over here to kind of like toggle and share things to the screen. And so what I want to do now is share the definition of labor trafficking, because words have definitions. Words have definitions. And while there is nuance, and while there can be gray area, and while language is living and breathing and ever evolving, some things are just what they are. Like, if there's a checklist and you check off enough of these things, guess what? It falls under that category. So when Asha and I say that we have endured labor trafficking, and if you were in the ICOC or ICC, that you have very likely been labor trafficked. We're not just making things up, okay? Like, contrary to what you may think, because we are passionate and speak quickly and speak certainly, we do our research before we come on the World Wide Web. Okay?
Yes.
We may be loud, but we do not like to be loud and wrong. So here we go. Asha, did you have anything? Yet? I know you have a lot coming.
Yeah, you can go with the video.
So here we go. Let's start. Let's zoom in. Oh, okay, too much. All right, I've done too much. All right, here we go. Let's start with the definition of labor trafficking. And as you will see, this is coming from the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000. And then it has like some code here. And that's when you know it's official. Just look at all those letters, and even this little, it looks like a simoleon from the Sims game. Anyway, let's focus. The definition is the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for labor or services through the use of force, fraud, or coercion, for the purpose of subjection to involuntary servitude, peonage, debt bondage, or slavery. I looked up peonage because what is that? And it's very similar to involuntary servitude. And I don't know about debt bondage or slavery. I feel like I've heard some stories, about debt bondage being a thing in some minute corners of the ICOC and ICC, like people having to pay. Yes. I've heard of people like, if you receive help from the benevolence, that in some churches, some locations of the ICC and ICOC, you were required to pay that back. But anyway, or slavery. And I don't know about that one, but definitely the first two, and maybe, some on the debt bondage. But here we go. Labor trafficking red flags. And I believe there are 10 things here that we're going to talk about. Let's just run them down quickly. Restricted movement. Victims may have limited freedom of movement, may be under constant supervision. This includes not being allowed to leave the workplace or living quarters without permission. Number 2, isolation. Traffickers often isolate victims from the public, friends and family. Limited contact with others and restrictions on communication may be signs of labor trafficking. Number 3, document confiscation. Traffickers may confiscate identification documents, passports, or work permits to control and restrict the movement of victims. As far as I know, I haven't heard of this one happening.
No.
If you have a story, please leave it in the comments. But see, we're not making stuff up. I don't know that we do all that. And that's because, and we'll get to this later, they don't have to, because they've bonded you in your mind.
Yeah.
Anyway, number 4, substandard living condition. Victims may be forced to live in overcrowded, unsanitary conditions, sometimes in the workplace with little or no access to basic amenities. Number 5, excessive working hours. Long and irregular working hours, often well beyond legal limits, may indicate exploitation. This may be coupled with inadequate breaks or rest periods. Number 6, physical abuse. Signs of physical, such as bruises, cuts, other injuries, may be evident on victims. Fearful or submissive behavior may also be observed. Next, withheld wages. Victims may not receive fair wages or may have their earnings withheld, creating dependency and further trapping them in their situation. Number 8, unrealistic job offers. Promises of high-paying jobs with excellent working conditions that seem too good to be true can be indicative of fraudulent recruitment practices. Campus ministry internship, anyone? Next, number 9, lack of personal belongings. Victims may have few personal belongings or be provided with insufficient clothing, indicating a lack of personal autonomy. 10, fear and mistrust. Victims may exhibit signs of fear, anxiety, or a reluctance to speak openly. They may also be afraid of law enforcement or authorities. If you're thinking, wow, that sounds so extreme, well, just go grab a snack and get cozy, because we are actually going to share with you, and explain with receipts how this is actually not that far off.
Yeah. And I do want to say this. I'm upset that I have to say this. We know that everybody in ICOC and ICC were not labor trafficked. We know that it wasn't everybody, because that is how cults work. That's how they work. You can't do it to everybody. That's how they stay above the law. That is how they keep credibility. It is a different level of exploitation for everyone. It is on a sliding scale. All cults operate this way. You even see it in Scientology. We see the Leah Remini documentaries or podcasts where she explains people who literally live in dorms there and have to work off their education within Scientology. And then you have Tom Cruise. There's always different levels of exploitation and abuse in a cult. However, here's the deal. Either you believe that exploiting somebody, taking advantage of them is wrong, or you don't. When you do think that it's okay, you better believe that your experience is not the threshold. It is not the threshold. Whatever your experience is, there are people experiencing way worse or way less, because that's how a toxic system works. So I'm going to give you an example. In our very first video, we talked a lot about our experience in the IC, and in the comments, there was a young man who posted that there was a particular leader who would manhandle and literally wrestle to the ground, physically assault other teen boys who he felt like he needed to show who's boss to. That person that they were talking about, I was in campus ministry with this person. I was there at their baptism. I led Bible talks with them. This person officiated my sister's wedding. There's somebody who I considered a close friend. And I think about our time together. This person is very misogynistic. They like to intimidate people, particularly women, to show who's boss. They don't necessarily respect people who don't think a certain way. They often like to intimidate. A lot of us women, particularly this, sisters of color, really felt like he was always on our case. I was always bumping heads with him. I remember one time having lunch with this person and Odell, who's now my husband. He was not my husband or my boyfriend at the time. And I remember being so embarrassed because I went off in front of Odell. So I just felt like this is not very demure. But anyway, I was talking about how I was taking a women's studies class and how much I was learning. Right now, we're talking about this a lot, about how they haven't studied the female body or whatever. And I remember talking about what I was learning and how it's a shame that so many women suffer, particularly medically, because a lot of the studies, that stuff we know about what a heart attack is, what a stroke is, etc., come from studying just white men. right? And we don't know how it affects, women, not even talking about people of color, right? And I was like, this is so important. It might be something I want to look into in the future. And he said, that's a waste of time. Nobody cares about that. That would be stupid to major in that. Why would you do that? You won't make any money in that. And I was like, because nobody cares about it is why it needs to be studied. He was like, yeah, nobody cares about it. So that's why it would be a waste of time. And I lost it, right? And so, okay. So that's my experience with this person. Imagine me going into the comments and saying, yeah, he was rude, he was mean, he was misogynistic, he was disrespectful, but he never put his hands on anybody. I want to punch myself in the face just saying that as an example. I would never do that, because here it is. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. It's not because of my limited, less extreme experience with this person that I think he didn't do that to those young teen boys. It's because of my less extreme, less intense experience that I know he did it. What I experienced with this person and what they experienced with this person is going to be different, because we're two different demographics. But this person has already proven that they are okay with being disrespectful, with being intimidating, with being misogynistic. They have already proved that. And guess what? The Venn diagram between a person who thinks like that and someone who assaults somebody is literally a circle. It's a circle. So you're sitting here to say that because you, oh yeah, they exploited me. They took advantage. They took all my time. They made us serve everyone for free, but I wouldn't call it labor trafficking. Well, guess what? The people who think that all that stuff that you listed is okay, and the people who labor traffic, it's a circle. We didn't think that there was child SA going on in this church. Now we have dozens of court cases filed, horrific stories. That would be like me saying that didn't happen to my child. I wish I would. Ooh. And this is how we sound sometimes in this cult. This is how people, and this is the part that's sick, is people who actually left too. People who have left because you have benefited from this system. Because what that person did was they exposed something. They exposed that they benefited, that they had some fun, that people served them who may not have necessarily liked it, and they don't want to believe that. And so it's people who have left, who have moral injury. You don't want to see it as bad as it was, because does that mean you were a bad person? It might not mean you were a bad person, but you definitely hurt people. And stop trying to silence people for exposing truth, because the truth is inconvenient for you. Because it was tons of people who were collateral damage for you enjoying the benefits of that cult. Listen, if you are surrounded by people who like to minimize your experiences by saying, well, that's not how it went for me, that is a red flag. I would like to tell you that that person is trying to convince you that you and your experience doesn't matter by minimizing it, by sharing theirs. I want to tell you right now, that person doesn't matter. They are okay with you being collateral damage so that they can continue benefiting from their system. They are okay with that. You matter. That person doesn't matter. You matter. You are a human being who deserves to be cared about. Throw those people in the trash and stop listening to them. They are worthless. They are trash. And this is why me and Nikita think very differently about certain things. Now, I was trash. I was the best sane washer in the church. I could sane wash those egomaniacs like nobody's business. Somebody says something insulting, terrible. They're letting little stuff slip, saying the quiet parts out loud. Oh, I knew how to say, well, I think that what they're really saying is that I was so good at it. I was trash. But here's the thing, you don't have to stay trash. But if you're a person who does that, you are trash. You're not smart either, because that's how it works. You ever watch a documentary? I love to watch these. I know that I'm going on a rant. I'm almost done. I love to watch these documentaries where somebody talks about someone who became a murderer. And then you talk to their friends and family, and they're like, yeah, he used to, be very violent. You know, he used to watch these type of movies. You know, when he got married, there was some domestic violence, but I never thought he would murder people. And you're watching the documentary and you're like, yeah, yeah. That, what did you think would happen? Like, you should have been calling the cops. You should have been doing that. We all have done that, but you don't do it with this cult. You literally laid out a list describing labor trafficking and then said LOL at the end as if she was being ridiculous. Y'all need to wake up. And the reason I say all this is not to be mean, but it's because I know that there are people still stuck in that system. There are people who have left that system who still carry shame because people like that minimize their experiences and they're walking around in a ball of confusion. That's why I say it, because for whatever reason, that the people who are the loudest are people like this. I want to be the loudest. Your experience matters. It happened. They treat people different on purpose. If someone says that didn't happen to me, you throw them in the trash where they belong. Okay? They don't have to be trash forever. If they can change and stop doing that crap, they're not trash anymore. But right now they are. You need to heal and move away from that person. Okay, so I just wanted to throw that out there because some people seem to think that we don't understand that people had different experiences. If people didn't have different experiences, these people wouldn't be successful. Because think about it. If you sat there and just watched Kip McKean sit there and talk without him being able to mirror the audience and them saying, come on, bro, you would not listen to him. You would be like, that man crazy, and you will walk away. It's the people around sane washing him that make it effective. They are the most dangerous. They are the most dangerous. So I just wanted to throw that out there. We know you're out there, people who think it wasn't that bad. We don't care about you, though. I don't. Asha doesn't care about you. And I think you should be quiet. And I want people who are affected by you and your message to not listen to you anymore. So, all right, there you go. Sorry, we can move on.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not, I hope I was clear when I tidied it up at the end earlier. Like, I'm not excusing those people. I think I wanted to provide, because when you come to this content, a lot of people, sometimes you're in this in between. You're maybe wrestling. You're wondering if what you saw is really what you saw, if what you felt is valid, if this or that. And so I just wanted to put that out, that like, if you're in that beginning stage or in that middle stage where you're wrestling, but you're not the type of person that's gonna then just like blast online, I don't want you to feel like you're not welcome here, or like we're gonna shame you. Like, Asha and I were out of the cult for maybe a year and a half. Was it longer than that? It's 2021. Maybe a year and a half, 2 years before we started doing this channel. And we had been wrestling for at least a year or two before we even left.
Yeah.
So we were like you at some point. And like Asha said, being that person who was defending the leaders, being the person who was orchestrating the labor trafficking, organizing all of these things, using scriptures to make people feel like you need to be there. What's wrong with your heart? Your treasure's in heaven.
Yeah, somebody reached out to you. You know,
like all of the things. We know how it works. And so that's all I'm trying to say, is that if you are still in a place where you don't understand, or you're wrestling, or you're having a hard time, that we're not like, I don't know, we're not bashing you. Yes, you kind of are trash right now. And we've been trash, you know? Just think of the same humility you had to have in the discipleship study to say, I'm not a Christian. Like, just admit. And then like, okay, we're all in this together. We're all in this together. But this person came with their whole chest and their whole keyboard and their thumbs or their fingers or whatever, and left it on there. And I'm inclined to think that instead of changing their mind, that maybe they were just embarrassed, and that's why they deleted their comment, because I never got an apology or a retraction, or they never said, for those who were looking like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I would hate to invalidate anybody's experience. Like, there was no eagerness to see justice done. I saw no godly sorrow, if you will. So with that being said, let's let the leaders speak for themselves. If you all saw my leaders speak for themselves video, you are already familiar with this clip. I believe it's Kevin Miller speaking at the international conference a couple of years ago. And he's just describing these. Oh, it's my sister. Hey, Ashley. He's just describing these amazing, hardworking, God-fearing interns. And we're just going to let him talk about that for a little while. Let's see. View tab. Make it big.
This is the call group. This is a group. This is a group. I got to fly. This is a group of 15 people that have spent the last 9 months they spent September of 2021 through May of 2022 with the Boston Church, working mostly on campus and in teens and things like that, training. They're radicals. They made nothing. They're living they're living for free out of Disciples in Boston's attics with no heaters, space heaters we don't pay them anything practically. They came in from all over the world. Just to train, just to do an adventure. They are about the cream of the younger group in the United States. They're awesome. And when they arrived, my first call meeting with them, they're so sick of me telling this story, but my first meeting with them, they had one meeting and then I showed up and I did in that meeting what I always do in most of my meetings with young people. We're going to start of the semester, we're going to set evangelism goals. And if you're in this group, nobody can share with anybody less than 100 people. And in that meeting, once I said that, you would have like everybody's minds exploded. What? 100 people? What are we going to do? Go to the grocery store? And I stopped for a minute and I had Glenn in the meeting. I had a couple radicals in the meeting go, oh, you guys have a problem with this? Well, let's see what the other region leaders think. Glenn, what do you think? I had planted those people in that meeting right there and all that kind of stuff. And everyone went, oh, yeah, we kind of gently, we're all laughing. Everybody's laughing. It's a meeting where these Cole kids felt comfortable to bark out, this is crazy. And we didn't go, yes, you, shut up. You know, it wasn't like any of that. We're all laughing. We're having a great time. It's an inspiring atmosphere to be in, but it is non-negotiable. So they did it. And then we always come back the next week, we have follow-up. And I tell them, I'm teaching the campus ministers tomorrow how to train people. And one of the things I'm going to talk about is expectations and inspection. People don't do what you expect. They do what you inspect. So we always come back and it's a handful of the most, we don't do this every week, but we do this during different seasons of every year. And we say, how'd it go? And I tell them, you have a goal of 100. We're going to ask next week how it went. And then they all come back. So take it seriously. And this has the benefit of teaching them all kinds of skills, time management and courage and how to deal with your emotions and how to work hard and blah, 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 blah. And that meeting, when we come back and we all share it, it's filled with the Spirit's movement, character growth. This group has been super fruitful this year in the Boston church. But it wasn't by accident. It's because there's somebody in there developing these people to go and find and chase victories, baptisms, and the conversion of Gentiles. Truth is, I do the same thing with my region leaders. We all need it.
Oh man. It wasn't by accident. It was
That's my sister.
That's right, Ashley.
She watched me get kidnapped.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It wasn't by accident. It was by kidnapping.
Yeah.
And then, yes, non-negotiable. And you see how diabolical? He's like laughing. I planted them. We're all laughing with them. They felt so comfortable. It's crazy, but it's non-negotiable. So let's. Why is he yelling? Because he's so fired up. He's so fired up. God, brother, get with the program. We're men who dream. Captives came. Back into Zion.
from their freedom.
Sing it, sis.
Came a scheme.
The harmony.
And while the city. No. Oh my God. Ooh.
When our souls were like the desert.
We're like the desert. And we stumble
on the stream.
On that stream.
In the waters.
Let me tell you something. This was okay, listen. You know how I talk about
Bucket list item. Bucket list checked off. Lead men who dream. Oh God, I can't.
What's so funny is it is a bucket list. I was like, I want to be the one singing that one day.
I could never though. I could never.
You gotta hit that high note.
But do you though? Because we've heard some times. But do you?
It's so funny, right? Because it's like, you know how I always compare, because it's the same thing. It's the same picture. This church to a MLM. And it's so funny. We always in the anti-MLM community talk about how MLMs say there's 18 different ways to earn money. And they're really all the same way. Is recruiting. Well, it's really two ways. You can make some money by selling the product, but all the other 17 ways are by building a downline. And at the end, he said these kids were out there working for God, sharing their faith, converting Gentiles, baptizing. Those are all the same thing. They're the same thing. Always be converting. That's it. He tried to make it sound like they were doing different things. Converting. That's it. That's the only measure of success these people actually have. It's the only thing that should matter to you. It's just so funny how they try their best. Even that men who dream thing. What are they dreaming about? Converting. That's it. That's it. There is nothing else. There's nothing else. Hey, Margie.
Nothing even matters. Nothing
yes, Ashley.
Even matters.
He found that secret sauce.
So let's look and see just in those 3 minutes.
Mm.
Oh, nope, sorry, friend. Sorry, old friend. I got to share the screen. Okay, I didn't have that as an overlay. Wait. Gosh darn it. I'm doing too much. Leaving messages and voicemails. Am I doing too much? All right. Let's look here. In just that 3 minutes, because wait, there's more. There's more. But let's see what we see here. Restricted movement. Victims may have limited freedom of movement, may be under constant supervision, includes not being allowed to leave the workplace or living quarters without permission. Now here, on other lists that you will see, they will talk about like living at the workplace. Mm-hmm. Where are these young people living?
Yes.
They're being lodged and housed with other members who will be henceforth named disciples. We're not saying they are actual disciples, but that's what they call themselves. So we'll just say that.
Right.
So they're living with disciples. They're under constant supervision. They are, because they know if you're leaving late, coming back late or whatever, they know what you're doing. They know what you're doing all the time. And you are being watched. Like, I was told, like, the one family that I was close to at a time, another brother who was in the campus ministry, he was new. And so this family hadn't met him yet. He gave me a ride to their house. And I was questioned about it by the father figure of the family. Who was that guy who dropped you off? Who was that? Who are you hanging out with? And I'm 18, 19. I'm laughing. That's brother so-and-so. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I just haven't met him. You getting dropped off by men at my house.
Wow.
Like, you're being watched. And that was just getting dropped off. Like, imagine if someone saw you out eating with people, or you were coming home late. Like, what is your work schedule? Why did you get back? So what's going on? Anyway, Let's see. Was there isolation here? Well, you're isolated from your families.
Oh yeah.
You've left your family to go, I believe this is Boston, and stay here.
Mhm.
And how often are you spending time with them? How often are you on the phone with them? I was told, who's Lord of your life?
Yeah.
Is it Jesus? Is it your mom? Is it Jesus? Is it your sister? Is it Jesus?
Yeah.
Is your don't love a family member too much. They are your idol.
Mhm.
You're too sentimental. Remember, at the end of the day, if your family is disciples, well, you're in this leadership training, so you've clearly been chosen to set the bar and the standard of righteousness. You need to lead your family. And then if they're not disciples, then you got to show them what it looks like to live for Jesus. They don't know your devotion. Remember, Jesus said you have to hate your mother and father, your brother and sister. Anyone who's friends with the world is enemies of the Lord, enemies of God. So that's isolation. Again, no document confiscation. We talked about that. Substandard living conditions.
Yes.
Asha, I'll let you take that one.
Oh my gosh. Well, you heard him. What he said, they were sleeping on his floor, right?
In the attic.
In the attics, yes.
And
no air conditioning.
Yeah. Space heaters.
Space heaters. That's what it was. And this was just the standard way to do things. I personally have a situation where I wasn't the intern. At this point, I am a young married wife. And, there's this equal amount of pressure on you as a married couple in this cult to make sure that you house these kids, and I remember feeling very anxious about it. Very much like, I don't have the space. How am I going to do this? I was worried about making them comfortable. And I remember being pulled into a D group where I was completely blindsided by the women's ministry leader and another lady. And they told me how selfish I was, how I was getting in the way of my husband's goals to serve the church. What's wrong with you? You don't want to serve God. You're, selfish, prideful. And I was like, I'm just concerned about being able to create a welcoming environment for these kids. I can't cook for them. This whole situation makes me very anxious. So that was bad in and of itself, the abuse that I received for saying that I don't think I can do this. But one thing that I haven't brought up before is what they said to me. They were like, oh, don't worry about it. These kids, you can put them anywhere. You don't have to serve them. They're going to be out working so much you may not even ever see them. They're going to be exhausted. They're going to come home and just fall asleep. That's what they told me. And that was the truth. The lady who was discipling me, going on for me, she shared with me her experience when she said, I remember being a teen and doing this out in London. And it's the same thing, right? This was in 2022, this clip Nikita shared. She was like, we had to share with 100 people. And she was like, it was non-negotiable. And when they said non-negotiable, let me tell you, they mean it. She shared with me that one day they came back. It was like 9:00 at night. And they had worked all day. And when they got back to debrief, they reported that they had not met that 100. And they sent them back out into the street late at night. She said the only people out there were drug dealers or drug addicts. They were putting themselves literally in danger. And mind you, this is where I'm trash. She's trash. Everybody's trash, right? And I'm brainwashed. So I'm sitting there going, wow.
So radical.
That's so radical. That's so amazing. So listen, this is my personal experience. She told me that's what she experienced. She's telling me this to comfort me about the fact that I will not have to really look out for these kids the way I'm worried about, and share with me what she did.
Because they're a hard fighting soldier on the battlefield. Yes, they were hard fighting soldiers. Oh, yeah. Oh, if I die, let me die in the service of the Lord. If I get shanked out at night, it's for the service of the Lord. I was a song leader. I helped with the song ministry.
This is that environment, y'all. So you want to say that people weren't labor trafficked? That girl said that as a teenager, she was sent back outside because she hadn't met her quota yet. She hadn't met her quota yet. And this is it. That's what those internships look like. And There's so many stories. What's next? Are we gonna? We still
Oh,
going
excessive
through?
working hours.
Yeah.
Which goes
Well,
hand
there
in
we
hand with
go.
what you were just saying.
Exactly.
And there are stories that get glorified about Bible studies that go all night, how people worked long days, but then somebody wanted to study the Bible. They were so terrified of eternal torment because of the way the Bible studies are set up.
Yeah.
We have videos on that if you want to go see them.
Yeah.
I always say I'm going to add the little card drop downs, and I never do. Maybe one day I'll do that. But anyway, you can go look that up, the Bible study series. But so they were so terrified that they would not let the disciples leave their home. Like, you need to finish the study series with me tonight. I need to get baptized tonight because I don't want to die not being right with God. And so then basically, can you imagine being one of these interns? Can you imagine just being a member of the ministry and your leader finds out that someone wanted to study all night, that someone had so much urgency, and you said, no, I need to go to sleep?
Yeah.
Can you see the way that man was talking? You hear the way Asha said that person spoke to her about her experience. Can you imagine going back to those leaders and saying, so we scheduled for 2 days from now because I was tired and I had to go to class. I was tired and I had to go work tomorrow.
I think I shared my story of just giving birth, and I got a text message from the women's ministry leader asking me to join a Bible study. And because of how hard you're expected to work in this cult, I sincerely battled whether or not I should go, still healing from giving birth. And I was trembling, writing back to her to say, I don't think I can. I just gave birth. I don't know if I can come out with a newborn yet. I'm still healing and I'm very tired.
Imagine that.
I wrote all this stuff because I was so fearful of saying no. You're telling me that that's somebody that's not labor trafficked? And so much of the people who experience this the most are the younger people in this cult. It is a lot of times, if you're single, if you're young, if you are in campus ministry. So I came up in this campus ministry. I had this mindset. I don't matter and I need to work for God. So that's why I was honestly confused. I don't know. Should I? I remember being out one night in campus. It really did feel like labor trafficking. We didn't have our own cars. The church made our schedule. It's when I started in the campus ministry. People picked me up and we were gone all day doing whatever church activities they were doing. And I remember one day after a long day being out with campus people, and my discipler at the time told me to come with her to help her do her laundry. It is now 10 p.m. at night. And I said, I really need to get ready for a test. There was no getting ready. The day was gone. I was not going to pass that test. I'm majoring in pre-med. This person's majoring in fashion. So, which is fine. But, I need to study. I was trying to get ready for my A&P exam. And I said, I need to go home. We have been out all day. I need to be home. And she was like, I am your sister in Christ. This is being with the body. She did. This happened.
I believe it.
And and she said, didn't we talk about how if you put the kingdom first, God will give you what you need?
Was she a leader or just another?
Yes. She led the campus ministry.
The same person from the London story?
No.
Oh, okay.
A different person.
Oh, yeah. I know that person's major.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she yelled at me. Pretty much, you're not serving enough. You don't have the heart. If you put the kingdom first, God will give you the answers on your test, is what she said to me. So I stayed. First of all, I had no choice. I didn't have a car. I couldn't just leave. And I'll never forget that night because I was so exhausted. Did I fail that class? Yes. Did I have to take it again? Yes. Was I later shamed for not studying? Yes. But I was constantly being dragged around. And I am someone who is, again, I know everybody didn't have that experience. Like I said, it depends on how important you are, definitely your gender, and how vulnerable you are. I was one of those very vulnerable people who was less likely to speak out. And I got taken advantage of. That's why I'm so pissed. If y'all saw me yelling in the beginning of this video, that is why. I was someone who was definitely exploited. And I know it wasn't the same for everyone. I know it wasn't because I saw it. I was one of those people who was questioning, like, wait a minute, I had to do this and do that. When did y'all stop making people do that? I didn't know the whole time. Everybody was having different experiences based on your ranking, I guess, based on your devotion,
Based on your parents.
based on your parents, based on your gullibility, based on what the church wanted to. Maybe the church got other benefits out of you. Mine was straight up servitude. Until it wasn't, until people were like, oh, you're actually smart. We're going to put you over here. And that's the part where I hate myself because I should have left because this place is disgusting. But anyway, so yeah, there are so many stories, but go ahead.
I was just going to pull the list back up because don't, like LeVar Burton from Reading Rainbow says, don't take my word for it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to this code. Let's go back here. There you go. Let's go back over there and check it again. So, because we're not finished with the list of how that 3-minute clip, 3 minutes, just that little bit covers so much of this. So let's go on down to withheld wages. Oh, he said it so proudly. And we're paying them nothing.
Yeah.
Okay,
I told you, Odell, nothing.
That speaks for itself. Unrealistic job offers. He doesn't explicitly say it here, but if you've ever been on a ministry internship, if you've ever been to a campus ministry leadership meeting or retreat or D group, which is short for like discipling group, you are sold this dream very much like MLMs that you could be in the top. You could be one of us. And they'll even let you share communion. Like preach the communion lessons. They'll let you tell your testimony in front of service. They might give you a couple people to disciple and be in charge of and shepherd and get trained, which is really just it's just more labor trafficking, but you're learning humility. You get to be around the leaders in their home. How lucky are you to Swiffer their floors?
We haven't even talked about that. But go ahead. That's a whole other thing, but we've talked about it before.
We'll get there. There's so much more. And you're just fed this idea that you can rise the ranks. But only a very, very small amount of people do. And a lot of them look and sound the same.
That's weird.
And there's even, you could look it up. It's the Squad, SCUAD. There's a recording on that. Asha, a friend of ours, Erica, and myself did a video on racism back in 2022. And we shared clips from their stream that they did in 2020. And it's all of these leaders talking about how racist the leadership structure is in the ICOC, and how one guy was basically, he was the DEI hire. He told them that he did not want to do it. What was he like in software development or some tech job, some IT, I think, job, computer, something. And okay, there we are. And he was like, I don't want to do it. And then he said, well, then they kicked my butt in the right way. That's the phrase he used. They kicked my butt in the right way. And they said, basically, we need more Black brothers. We need more diversity in leadership. And so we're not making that up. And we're not saying that we are fans of the term DEI hire. But if you want to hear that is an example of what they literally said. Hey, you Black guy who can speak in complete sentences and who has been around and has proved himself dutiful, get over there. Actually, and then where is it? Is it on here? About like being coerced? And this isn't part of the restricted movement, physical withheld, maybe fear and mistrust. I don't know. It's in other like definitions, but basically how you're coerced. You're coerced into it. He literally said, I don't want to do this. And he said the guy kicked his butt in the right way. Or as Kevin Miller said, it is non-negotiable.
But it's non-negotiable. We'll laugh with you.
My sister. Didn't they try to put you on a DEI? Basically, it was was the task force. Oh, people asked for a video about that. Maybe one day. It was just such a terrible experience. But terrible. Yes. So to appease the people. So, oops, wrong tab. So, unrealistic job offers, lack of personal belongings. I don't know that we saw that in that clip. Fear and mistrust. He didn't exhibit that in, well, kind of how he instilled the fear in them.
Yeah.
That he let them know it is non-negotiable.
I forgot what he said exactly, too. He said, people don't do what you tell them. They do what you check up on. He's like, we're going to check up on you, make sure you did this. You're being held accountable for this. And listen, nobody will track you down, stalk you, get in your face like a ICOC, ICC person. I came across a TikTok. I don't remember how I came across this with this girl. It was recently. I need to go find it, where she was warning people about our church. And listen to me, you know what I mean? This church that we talk about in these videos. And she said, that she was studying the Bible with them. And her boyfriend at the time said, oh, those people, they called me every day. They called me every week for a year. Every week for a year. And I kept telling them I don't want to come. He was like, be careful with them. And so she decided to test them. In this TikTok, I need to find this. She said, I know I saved it. She said that, she decided to cancel her Bible study with them that night. And they were like, why? And she was like, because I'm going to the movies with some friends. And they were like, okay. And she said when she got to the movies, they were there and they sat behind her. She was like, I don't know what they were doing, some type of intimidation or something to let me know that they can find me anytime. She was like, I don't know what they were doing, but stay away from these people. And I've seen it. I remember this young couple who got baptized in our Bible talk, picked up on, oh yeah, these people crazy. And they decided to dip out. And I could see that, you get to this point where you can see where people are like, oh no. I was still brainwashed, but I saw it. I saw the light go out. Oh no, y'all crazy. And they were like, yeah, we're moving out to Suffolk. And we gonna move far. So we may or may not see y'all. And I remember going to leaders meeting after leaders meeting where I was challenged to call them again. And I was like, I remember telling the evangelist, they don't want to come to this church anymore. And he was like, well, call them again. Coercion is just Tuesday in ICOC, okay? It's just any old Tuesday. So when you are young, vulnerable, and they have you in these closed quarters, they have you separated, isolated, you're in an echo chamber. Listen, it's a different experience. It is a different experience. I remember this one sister, member of the church, who, I had a lot of trauma from my time in campus, and I took a lot of stuff literal. And she was like, I just feel like you are, she said it was something wrong with me with the way I took things. And then later, her daughter went off to campus ministry. And then she said, she came out, she was like, oh my God, what have they done to my daughter? She said, now I believe the stuff you said because my daughter is now coming home. She's insecure. She always feels like a failure. She feels like there's nothing she can do. Yeah, because they make sure they leverage different experience. What's happening to your daughter is she's being broken down and she's being labor trafficked. But she couldn't see it until it happened to her kid. So anyway, different experiences. Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Oh.
Is it Alejandrina?
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. Oh, maybe I should get Tanya. Back to explain all of this in Spanish. I need to get Tanya back here. But hello, greetings from Mexico. I love our family is growing. We love you.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
That just warms my heart.
Yeah.
Look at that. The fruits of the spirit, love. Against such things there is no law. And no, we can speak the language of love.
Yes.
That touched me.
Yep, me too.
But what was I was thinking something.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, coercion.
Yeah.
And so the thing about this is that, and the disgusting and the insidious thing, nefarious, all the words, they make you think it is your idea. They make you think it is your desire, and it is because of their brainwashing tactics. Yes, brainwashing.
Yeah.
And, again, we come with the receipts. What is brainwashing? A forcible indoctrination to induce someone to give up basic political, social, or religious beliefs and attitudes to accept contrasting regimented ideas. Persuasion by propaganda or salesmanship. And I will tell you, a lot of the things that we are trained in ICOC are very much sales tactics.
Definitely.
Here we go. Psychological kidnapping, depriving a person of free functioning of his or her personality, aka it's non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Sometimes used to describe mind control attributed to cults. See also brainwashing. They are interchangeable. And so they do so with scriptures like this one, Hebrews 13:17. I had to truncate it so it would all fit within the character limit. I only had 200 characters, but have confidence in your leaders and submit to their authority because they keep watch over you as those who must give an account.
Yeah.
Do this so their work will be a joy, not a burden. And the rest of that phrasing is, for that would be of no benefit to you.
Yeah.
If you're stressing your leader out, if you're not complying with what your leader is saying, you're being a burden.
Yeah.
You're not being a joy. That person has been chosen by God, the Holy Spirit, to lead you. And if they're a burden, that is of no benefit to you. What will poor little dumb sheep you do? They call you dumb sheep from the pulpit, by the way. I can't tell you how many sermons I heard being told I am a dumb sheep and I need the shepherding of the leaders to make sure that I don't fall and get stuck in the muck. I need them to get me out. So what would I do if I just burn out my poor little old leader and then they can't lead me? Now I'm stuck in the mud forever, aimless, harassed and helpless. The crowds, is that an Old Testament? Is that a New Testament? The crowds are harassed and helpless.
New Testament,
yeah. And so we must save them. We must help them. They are spiritually depraved. I am spiritually depraved without my leader. So I need to submit to their authority. If they tell me to go out in the middle of the night, I need to do that. Don't be a burden. Don't talk back. You're trained to think this way. This is just one scripture. This is just one scripture. Speaking of, this is a side note. I might do a whole separate video about that. Stop quoting scripture to us in the comments. If I see Matthew 18 one more time, I might block you.
Why are you all trying to do that? We were the ones who did that.
And it's always the most basic.
Y'all not even
scriptures.
that good at it. Y'all
You're
not good at it. You're not good at the,
Bring me some Deuteronomy.
Yeah, come on.
Bring me some revelations.
Yeah.
Could you tie the Old Testament to the fulfillment of the law for me, please?
Ones.
What did you get baptized last month? Did you have 5 quiet times? Stop it!
It's laughable. Or sometimes I like it when you do it because I just think it's hilarious. And I'd be like, everybody look at this comment. Everybody look at this one.
Try harder. Literally, leaders asked us to proofread their sermons. Leaders put us in charge of leading other leaders. They wouldn't hire us.
No,
they wouldn't hire us. Not brown women. But they had us doing the work. They had us bouncing, having other people bounce their sermons off of us. The D groups off of us. Okay. And this is what we've been doing this. What was that 2022? 2 years now. 2 years? No, 2023, a year and a half. A year and a half now. Sorry, can't do math, but I can preach. Okay. So and
they can't stop though.
They can't, and they won't, and they probably aren't even watching this. So if you're watching this and you have a friend, tell them not to do it because it's insulting, and it's you think we don't know Matthew 18? You think we don't know
that you're using it wrong?
That too. Sometimes y'all aren't even doing it right. You think we don't know the scripture about don't give up meeting together. Come harder. Like, did you spend your time reading the Thompson's Chain Bible? Have you held a paper concordance in your hand? Have you navigated blueletterbible.com? Have you attended multiple MTPs by the Ed Anton?
Have you read all of the first century Christian writings? I have. You in that Bible hub looking at stuff in the Greek? No.
And
I'm so sorry. Now we just being mean.
No, we're not being mean. We have been too nice. Like, just stop it.
Oh man.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh, they just trying to help us.
And I think that's the insulting. Like, you don't listen. You don't listen. What you're doing, we did it, and we did it better.
Thanks, Ashley.
Ashley said it's not mean. My sister said it's not mean, so it's not mean. Attitude, boom,
face.
Now walk away. I don't know if y'all seen that TikTok trend. Attitude, now walk away.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's so funny. Anyway, okay, back to the regularly scheduled program. I feel like this really has the vibe of our old lives. We're like, where are we going? No one knows. No one knows.
Nobody
I'm definitely
knows.
gonna have to cut this one up later to make sure we get like the video that's
and
straight
that
to the
reminds
point.
me, and all y'all people who saying make it shorter, no, leave us alone.
Go away.
So I might make a short video with using your comment and keep it up. So anyway, please knock if you buck. That's right. Oh my
I'm
goodness.
actually surprised Ashley has been more silent through all the rest of these lives. So.
I know.
I'm happy to have her here.
Yes. So
okay, that was that.
Yeah.
I think we finished the list as it pertains to Kevin. And if you have not seen the Netflix show, which was originally an AMC show, but now it's on Netflix, Kevin can F himself. Go watch it, because that man's name was Kevin Miller in Connect the Dots. But also some of his manner, Asha and I just binged it recently. Oh my God, we had to talk about it. You never responded to my polo. But anyway, you finished it though, didn't you?
No.
You finished it?
It's okay. I knew you was gonna be upset.
Well, I'm not upset, but I just left some spoilers.
I know. And that's what she was gonna be upset about, that you left spoilers. I'm okay with the spoilers.
See, that's how you attribute charitable thinking. She knew that I would be sad that I spoiled it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I tried to leave it vague enough.
You did leave it vague enough.
Okay,
and it's
cool.
spoilers that I'm happy with.
Okay, great.
It
great.
was intense. Yeah.
Maybe we'll watch it today. I don't know. Anyway, focus. Kevin can F himself. Go watch it. That's all. I'm not getting paid to say that, but I just think if you were in the ICOC, especially, the men need to watch it too. All y'all go watch it. It's just it's so good. Okay, so we talked about the coercion. We talked about the scripture. They make you think it's your idea. So now, Asha, do you have access to the other clip that you showed me?
Yeah, this one.
Yeah. Do you know how to pull it up
From
where you are?
So do I go to present?
Let's see. Remove. I need to stop sharing.
And so now I can share?
Yeah, you present. Share screen.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
Okay. It's easy. It's with two monitors. Wow.
And then you're also sharing the audio.
System.
No, just share the tab.
Chrome. It's not a Chrome tab, though.
Okay.
It's on my computer.
All right. Once you do this, I'm going to take a potty break.
And then
just click that.
Share.
Yeah.
Okay.
Infinity
screen. And then I can do this.
That's good enough. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. It's good to have two screens. They was right.
I'm going to mute you though.
Yes.
So because in case I'm in the bathroom, just remember to show yourself again and like unmute yourself. Or do you want to talk?
No.
Okay.
Good evening, church. Man, it's great to be together tonight. It's great to be worshiping God together in the same room. I'm seeing some tired eyes, some baggy eyes, some lack of sleep. There's a funk that's just waving over the auditorium. but it's because I know you're having a good time.
You're unmuted.
Okay. Sorry, let me take this one. Let me stop sharing. There we go. Okay. Did y'all see that? So, the other clip was from 2 years ago. This clip I just showed is literally from the ICMC that just happened a couple weeks ago. And I just did that little clip because it is, number one, it's hilarious. But number two, it really shows once again the normalization of exhaustion, the normalization of pushing people past their limits, the normalization of having people literally not care about their well-being. This is one of the opening lessons for the campus ministry. This whole thing is the campus retreat or campus conference or whatever. And what he says is, it's so great to all be here together. I see some tired eyes, some baggy eyes, some lack of sleep. There's a funk wafting over the crowd because you're having a great time. And what he's doing is he's out there before anyone can complain about how they have had these kids going beyond their limits. He's like, I'm going to glorify this. Let's glorify not getting any sleep. Let's glorify looking haggard and not taking care of ourselves. And why? It's because you're having a great time. It's like he's trying to convince them you're having a great time, which is why you're sacrificing your well-being to be here. And I wanted to show this because it's something that is still happening. People just love to say that ICOC has changed. They haven't changed. They're just a little bit more clever. He did it in some little joke. It's just, you guys are tired. It's all good. This is what we do. It's just what we do. We work ourselves to death. It's just our standard. And it's great. It's a great thing. No, you didn't have time to go take a shower. It smells in here because we haven't allowed you to rest not 1 second. Why? Because this is how it is in heaven. It's what makes Jesus happy. This is a conference that just happened a couple weeks ago. And just the coercion. And so I have another clip too. I didn't tell Nikita about that.
Run it.
Just to show you.
Screenshots, messages, receipts, everything.
And this one, to the untrained eye, may seem just a little bit more subtle than Kevin. What's his name? Brian. Kevin, yes. Kevin.
Because we're not making it up. I'm just so sick of us and other people being told we are exaggerating and lying. We see what we see. Yeah. We saw it and we hear it and they keep saying it. I'm sorry.
The messaging is the same. They just get a little bit more crafty with it. That's all.
Do they?
I don't know if they do.
That
really.
was pretty blatant.
Yeah.
That was pretty blatant.
So let me try to pull up the other script. All right, but I don't want it to play yet. All right.
Oh, same guy.
And
if you notice, if you watch enough of these sermons, the guys, it's like same guy, different font.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just all have a similar kind of vibe. That they like.
Yep. System audio. Share. Media player. This one is called Do You Love God's Church? Okay.
What do you love?
Are you for sure?
That's not a Kingdom song. That's a LL Cool J.
That was from our BC days.
Ooh, before Christ. Bad girls.
Okay, so I'm gonna mute myself.
Tonight is all about His glory in the church.
Yeah, leave it on. Start over.
Cool.
Just in case. I don't know. Just in case. I don't think it's
Yeah.
echoing.
Okay.
Now I have a question for you this evening. Do you love God's church? Do you love God's church? Not do you like God's church? Not do you tolerate God's church? But do you love in the very bit of your core God's church? Do you love God's church? We live in a generation that feels that institutions have failed them. And there's a growing temptation today to reject God's church, to dismiss it as irrelevant and unnecessary. A few years ago, I studied the Bible with a good friend of mine. And as we're getting ready to baptize him, he asked me very sincerely, Matt, can I be a Christian without the Christians? No. And here's why. As followers of Jesus, we have decided to follow Jesus. And when he goes left, we go left. When he goes right, we go right. When he says stop that, we stop. What he hates, we hate. And what he loves, we love. Jesus loves his church. He loves it so deeply. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25, in an attempt to explain to husbands how they ought to love their wives, Jesus says this about his church. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. To love Christ is to love his bride. To love Christ is to love his church. To not stain, wrinkle, or put blemish on it, but to make it a radiant offering back to God. Jesus loves his church.
All right. So we hate, the church hates what God hates. So please explain. I was not going to share this till later, but just please explain this to me if you all hate what Jesus hates. What is this? And this is just one of several articles that came out.
Yeah.
What is this? A group of Christian outcasts banded together to expose alleged SA and manipulation that was happening within its ranks. This is about. Oh, do I need to? Oh, okay. I was like, do I need to apply? Look who it's about.
Yeah.
Look who it's about. And there have been hundreds, nay, thousands of people who have come forward to submit their stories, to support the lawsuits that are going on. And this is just about SA. I actually tried to submit some of my stories, but I was told it was just for SA. And thank God that I don't have any of those stories. But I couldn't get in. So that's just SA. That's not DV. That's not financial swindling. That's not labor trafficking. That's not psychological manipulation. And, all of these things, practical kidnapping, because they're technically adults, 18 and 19-year-olds, even though by many accounts, very much children. Can't rent a car or drink, like you hate what Jesus hates. But then, and if you guys go and you find some of these articles, it talks about how when the victims and the families came forward, that leaders actually helped people escape. The perpetrators, they helped them get away before the cops were informed. I know someone who she became a pretty close friend on social media, and there was someone who was stalking her and threatening her, and I think was was injured because she didn't want to like be involved with him romantically,
Wow.
and like threatened violence against her. And they asked her to go worship at another location of the church.
Yeah.
They didn't warn the other congregation members about him or his behavior. They didn't punish or scold him.
Yeah.
She had to go to the police way later because she was so brainwashed and confused because of scriptures about like there's one in the New Testament, we don't settle matters in court as Christians because we want to present the church to the world as looking good. If we can settle disputes amongst ourselves, we don't take them to the law of the land. Those are the types of things that get preached. And this wasn't even the point. I was going to show that later. Are we frozen? Okay, no. I was going to show that later to talk about on the list. It talks about physical abuse, and you might think, oh, there's no physical abuse. I'm sorry. Back to Exhibit A.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, we've talked about this even in our marriage example.
Yes.
That there was leaders knew willingly
Yes.
of husbands harming their wives to the point like just terrible.
Yeah.
Just terrible. And the leaders did not report it. Did not report it. And so again, I was going to talk about that when I went back to the list to see like, hey, yes, that's part of labor trafficking. But I was just so outraged by him daring to get these young people basically to pledge allegiance to each other, pledge allegiance to, do you love what Jesus loves, which is the Christians? Do you love the Christians?
Exactly.
Do you love the ones who aren't in leadership and who aren't baptizing as much as you would like them to baptize, who aren't tithing as much as you would like them to tithe, who aren't direct descendants of your elders and evangelists? Do you love them? Because somehow the Rolling Stones and the LA Times and so many courts across the US now know otherwise. How were you so corrupt and so negligent? How are you so not passionate about what Jesus was passionate about that national news sources are now introduced?
That's right. That is right. And we brought up the whole coercion thing. This is how it starts. Do you see what he said? Do you love God's church? And I want to make it very clear. In this organization, God's church is them. Now, what has been going on, and he kind of said it, we live in a day and time where people feel like these systems have failed them. Yeah, you failed. We see it in the article Nikita just put up. And you see how he's minimizing that? We live in a world where people feel like these systems have failed them. What is wrong with people? You know? But, you know, do you love God's church? And do you saw how many times he said it? Not like God's church, but love God's church deep in your being. You see, that's the call. That is the expectation in this call. And you see, he is driving it home. And then he talks about a friend he studied the Bible with and how his friend said, can I be a Christian without the Christians? I bet you any amount of money his friend didn't say that. His friend said, can I be a Christian and not be a member of this church? I bet you any amount of money that is what he said. And he told him, no, you can't be. So you see, that's what me and Nikita have talked about before, the threat of your salvation. You can't even be connected to God unless you love this body, this church. And do you see how he then slides in that scripture, right? This is how much Jesus loves this church. You're in danger if you don't love this church. You need to present it without stain or wrinkle. Once again, this is that dog whistle. Shut up. Do not speak poorly about this church. You are only allowed to love it. You are only allowed to think favorably about it. Why? Because Jesus loves it. You just read what Jesus did. He gave up his life for it. And we do what Jesus says. If Jesus says go left, we go left. If Jesus says go right, we go right. If he says stop, we stop. You see, that's the brainwashing we're talking about. That's the brainwashing we're talking about. And you notice he doesn't bring up how Jesus makes it very clear that he cares about little children. And if you hurt one of them, Jesus says to kill yourself. Sorry, this is definitely not being monetized. Jesus says these things. Jesus says real religion is taking care of widows and orphans. You see how these people are evil? How they throw out things that Jesus actually cares about and only push one message. Jesus cares about this organization. And if you don't love it with everything in you, if you're not devoted to it despite what is actually going on, then you have no relationship with Jesus. This is what this man said. These people are dangerous. They are dangerous. We're supposed to worship God, not the church. This organization constantly puts the church, their organization, in the seat of Jesus. And then who gets to decide what the church looks like? Who gets to decide what it means when Jesus says go left? It's what the leader says, right? You have to always be unified and put together with this organization. So when the leader says something, it's as if you are hearing from God himself. So he knows what he's doing. This organization, people have already studied this in the scriptures, right? You had to accept that this is the body of Christ to even be baptized into this organization. And it's these type of lessons where they continue to push this stuff. They continue to brainwash. It's ongoing brainwashing always. And they are in an unprecedented time where people are speaking out like never before. So how does he start off this lesson? Do you love God's church? If not, you're in danger of not being in Jesus' good grace. Let me show you a scripture out of context to show you how much Jesus loves this church. When in fact, if you look at the scriptures, Jesus loves his church because of who they are, because of their behavior, because they take care of children, because they are the light of the world. He did not say protected like a mafia. It's not some secret organization that just gets protection just because it exists. But that is how these people talk about this church.
And it sounds like
it is awful. Go ahead. Oh my God, go ahead.
It sounds like a mafia or like just a toxic, a toxic love interest. I was gonna say boyfriend, but that's sexist, and we know that women can be evil as well.
Yeah.
So a toxic love interest where it's like, you heard what?
Mm-hmm.
They said what about me? Well, did you believe them? What did you say? Do you love me? They don't know me. They don't know me like you know me. Come on, you know me. You know me. I know you. I love you. Don't you love me? If you love me, why would you let them talk about me like that?
That's what he's saying.
I actually don't even know if I like you hanging out with them. If they're going to get in between us, if they're going to get in between us, I don't even know that you should be. Why would you hang out with them if they talk about me like that?
Yeah.
Don't you love me? Say you love me. You love me, don't you? Where were you?
Wow.
When are you coming back? Why would you be with them? You're going to let them call you again? I think I need to look through your phone. I need to see what you said. I need to see because you love me, don't you? I mean, I love you. I'd do anything for you. Haven't I done anything for you? Why don't you love me?
Oh my God.
And then if you don't, I'm just going to kick you out on the street. Never mind that I isolated you from everybody after all of this.
Never mind that I hurt you.
Never mind that I hurt you. Never mind that you're covering up bruises.
Wow.
Never mind that I threw something at your head. I threw a lamp at your head. You just made me so angry. It's just how passionate you make me.
Yeah.
It's just how passionate I am about my love for you. And it just really, when I think about the fact that you might leave me one day, I just, sorry, I just had a trigger warning. I don't know if that's hard.
I'm over here like.
But like, that's the vibes here.
That's the vibe.
That's the vibes here.
That's
and
it,
because
oh my God,
I can unfortunately, I'm very familiar with some of the other side. No, I will say my marriage was not physically abusive. So sorry, that sounded like that. But because I am very well versed in whataboutism and people picking apart your words.
yes,
I did want to say that I know Asha made the blanket statement earlier. They didn't say that. What they probably said is, do I have to be a Christian and be a part of your church? I can hear some of you you don't know that. Okay, well, let's say another option. Even if they didn't say that specifically, they were probably like, well, is it Gandhi? Who was it who said, I like Jesus Christ, but I don't very much care for his Christians?
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people hold that sentiment you know? So
Mhm.
it's like, even if it's not part of this church, it's like, okay, well, what if I like the Bible? What if I like the, do I have to interact with, because who's the face of Christianity right now? Unfortunately, the really, really loud ones is like the face of MAGA, or also kind of like TD Jakes and like those types of people, you know, like those umbrellas, like prosperity gospel or white Christian nationalism, or, you know, my church tithes so I can spread the gospel in a private jet. God wants me to be set apart. Like there's just all of this sleaziness. And then maybe they are also seeing some of the weird habits of the people they're getting to know at Bible Talk. And it's like, do I have to be friends with them? Do I have to hang out with them? Do I have to be like them? Like maybe that was it. In which case, it's like, let's look at the scriptures. Who does God call a Christian? If they're not living like this,
Right.
then they're not falling into that. And also, let's look at this scripture where these two brothers were out on a missionary, you know, crusade, and they disagreed.
Yeah.
And they went their separate
Separate
ways.
ways.
They went their separate ways, and all was well. And look, both of their names are still in the Bible.
Yeah.
Or you don't have to be best friends with everybody. Jesus had levels of friendship. There were the masses he talked with and fed. Then there was like this larger group that kind of followed him around. Then there was the 12. Then there was the 3. Then there was Peter the Rock. Like there's levels, you know, he could have said any of that. He could have said any of that. So I just hate whataboutism, and I hate contrarianism, if that's a word. Like, you don't know they said that. Shut up.
Yeah.
We know that they said something similar, and there were other ways.
Because I was a part of it. I know what they believe. I mean,
Well, you know who I'm addressing.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah,
but the point stands. The answer he gave
Mhm.
was, no matter which way you slice it, his answer wasn't good. And that's another thing. Let's stop attacking the people who are speaking out and who are asking the questions. Why are we not focusing more on his answer? Because no matter what the question was, his answer was garbage.
Yeah.
Hot basura. Guys, I'm sleep deprived today. If anyone was wondering, all the songs.
And again, consider the person, consider the message, consider the motive. This is an organization that is being sued for child essay left and right. And people are saying, what are y'all doing? What has been done? Is this true? This is terrible. People are rightfully outraged. And their message has been a consistent stop talking.
Or you're not saying it right.
You're blaspheming. You're slandering the bride of Christ. And this is a theme now, this whole bride of Christ. Do you love God's church? He didn't ask, do you love God? Isn't it supposed to be God that we worship? It's the fact that these people love God that they're so upset about what has been happening to these children. Duh, right? Obviously. And this organization's response is, you need to love God's church.
AKA them.
And it's this constant message, y'all, is so dangerous that God doesn't care about you individually. God is here to protect his church. You better not get God upset. Are you talking bad about his church? No, I'm talking about child essay. I thought that God cared about that. And they're pretty much saying he doesn't care about that more than he cares about you saying bad things about this church. That's their response. Their response to people questioning the horrific things that have gone on in this organization is, do not slander God's church. Every lesson is about this. And they started off this conference with it. It's flat out demonic. It is, I can't think of a worse word. It is terrible. And you notice he's not reminding them about how they're supposed to love God, because that gets in the way. That gets in the way of what he's trying to achieve. If he makes this lesson about God, he's in trouble. He's actually in trouble. If he makes it about frightening people, about being contrary to God's church, they stay in control. That is evil. But that's how they operate. That's how they operate with everything. You know how it was during 2020, and there was all this racial stuff going on. You know, this church loves to say, and here's another Asha speculation, but you know I'm right. During this time, there were those, you know, racial justice councils and stuff, and a lot of people left during that time.
Rightfully so.
And, you know, they love to say that it was, you know, Black people and the church didn't know how to handle racial stuff and they're learning and growing. And yes, a lot of people did leave during that time, but I don't think it was just because of the racial stuff. It was because remember I said in the beginning of this video that people have different experiences in this cult. There are certain people who are kind of on the outskirts who really haven't experienced too much craziness. They feel like this organization is a little intense here and there, but it's not that bad. For a lot of people, this was their first time seeing what this organization and their leadership is capable of, because they gaslit everybody. Everybody who ever believed in this organization and was like, well, of course we'll handle this well. Of course we'll handle this situation well. Of course the church will care about what happens to Black people and this police brutality. Of course we can talk about this and people can be heard. They've opened up the door for us to discuss how we've been feeling secretly for years. Of course. And this was their first time seeing that other side of the leadership that people like me and Nikita have seen for years. People like all the campus ministry students, we've been saw this. For a lot of people, this was their first time. They were like, what is this? You're not answering our questions. You turned this back around on me? You gaslit me? Like this is the first time they're like, what? And they left. I don't think it was just the racial stuff. It was their first time seeing the true colors, because that place doubled down. They were like, we are not changing a thing. We will not validate anybody. We will focus on recruitment, and that is it. And people were thrown.
I was looking to see if we had like a tiny office trash can. I want to be like, they finally saw the suggestion box. They finally saw where all their suggestions go, where they've been going for years.
That's
it's just
all.
They've been trickling before, and now it's just all of them all at once. And they're like, wait, you're not going to answer any of our questions?
And at the same time, there was talks about women roles, and women were speaking out about the abuse they experienced in this church and how they're silenced and they're not listened to. And they were like, yeah, we're going to talk about that. And they didn't really. And people were like, I thought we were going to talk about it. And then people were like, what's happening? You finally saw them for who they were. That's all. These are people who didn't know. They didn't know. And so, of course, a bunch of people left. And for people like me and Nikita, who had worked our way up into being trusted advisors, we hadn't experienced that level of gaslighting in a long time, right? So I know for me, I told y'all in the first video how I joined one of those meetings, and then I had a panic attack afterwards. I think I had it because I hadn't experienced that level of being shut down in a long time. And I had a visceral reaction. The trauma came back up from the back of my mind, and I was like, I thought this was over. I thought we were doing better. I thought we were changing, and I lost it. I think that's what happened to me. I broke down that day.
Katniss going back into the Hunger Games.
Yes! Oh my God. That's it, Nikita. It was like Katniss going back into the Hunger Games. I was like, wait.
I'm like, ask me how I know. I know. I felt the same thing. At different points.
We truly were stupid enough to think that we were changing and stuff. We had just moved to another level, another layer in the threshold.
We just thought maybe... I expressed to them, but they're so busy fighting for the Lord. They have so many people's concerns on their back that my concern is just lower, and not that many people are talking about it. So they'll get to it eventually, what I thought.
We were put back in our place so quick.
But then when 2020 came, and that was the main thing we were talking about, and they were basically just playing whack-a-mole with us, like, shut up. No, consider it a joy. Cheerful giver. Do not slander. Secrets the kingdom.
Matthew 18.
Forgive or you will not be forgiven. Forgive or you will... We do not get involved in civilian affairs. Don't be divisive. No bitter root among you. It defiles.
Oh, yes.
We can't ignore this. We can't ignore it. And it's just too blatant. And so it was hard because Asha and I had been exposed to so much of it that for us, this was the final straw. But for so many other people that we were trying to tell, they were like, well, I think. And we just had to realize like, oh, well, we have years of conversations and data and face-to-face interactions. I think I didn't realize until then that I had been allowed into the Holy of Holies. I had been allowed into the inner sanctum. So I know how these people interact. I forget that when you first get in, or if you don't ascend the ranks, you feel lucky just to have a face-to-face conversation with these leaders. I forget that they're inaccessible because I've been talking to them or they've been talking at me for years. And so for these people, for me, I'm like, what don't you get? They're lying. And the person's like, well, I talked to them and it seemed great. And it's like, oh, they're where I was 6 years ago. And so it's been hard. We definitely prayed and waited and made the videos to try to help illuminate some things, but you can't rush people through this process because they have convinced you, they have brainwashed you. Think that this is your good shepherd. These people love you. They have isolated you from your family, literally pulled you apart, convinced you they are the enemy in some senses. They are a charity case and or an actual enemy. You love them. They have done enough over the years to make you think that they love you too. That like, there's nothing I can say or show you, unfortunately, because we all had Stockholm syndrome. That's a whole other video. That it still is a very patient waiting game. I sit and I wait and I watch and I hope and I pray that eventually the scales just continue to fall off of people's eyes and they will be able to get free as well. I think for Asha and I, it was just quicker because we'd had so much interaction with them.
Had so much, and I just was like, oh, y'all still the same. Y'all tricked me. You tricked me. Oh my God, nothing has changed. Like their mask came off. They were like, we want to hear one. And I was like, well, truth. And they were like, if you don't sit back down, and they put the mask back on. I was like, ah!
And here, that it's like, if you are speaking out against the church, you're speaking out against God. You are hindering God's mission. That's what they make you think. And it's not until you take enough space, which fortunately 2020 allowed us to do, because we just literally could not meet with them as often, that you had space to think your own thought. You had space to talk to another person and be like, do you see this? Am I making that up? Did you ever feel that? But you gotta you gotta test the waters because you don't know who's gonna report you. Literally going back to one of the earlier points about like you're constantly being watched and you're nervous and people are surveying you, like you're limited in what you can do. Bye, Margie. Bye, Margie. And so it's not until you have that space that you realize, like, wait a minute. If this is the real church, so there were never any Christians before the ICOC and the ICC existed? This started when? In like the 60s, the 70s? And nobody before this small group of white people nobody ever was a true disciple of Jesus. And even now, in the whole world, it's just very, very unlikely that we'll ever find someone who's not in the good graces of God outside of this group. And you start thinking that and you're like, wait a minute, I know this sounds very elementary, but it feels profound to realize that God is bigger than this church. So yeah. But we can let's go back to our list. Let's go back to our list. Share. Okay, so we talked about the physical abuse with the Rolling Stone article, the essay, all of that, the DV. It's just so unfortunate. And also how it's taught, this is very sad, actually, trigger warning, quote unquote, disciplining children, but that you are taught to like spank your children very, very young, like even as like babies or toddlers, because even at that age, you can see, according to them, their sinful nature, their rebellious nature. Carry around a wooden spoon, and you might need to write some scriptures on it to remind you why you're doing it. why you're doing it. So that way your child doesn't suffer later in life for being a fool or being depraved and not choosing God. And then also you might want to write a reminder on there that you're not supposed to hit them out of anger. It's out of love. And yeah, and I think that's just concerning when you think about how they talk about that even at like 1 year old, that you can see their sinful nature.
Yeah. What they mean, and of course, when you are clear-headed, you understand that there's only one personality type that is accepted in this organization. And if you're not that personality type, you need to fit into it. So really what they're doing is having you break your child, right? They want you to try to fit them into a certain personality. What's coming out is not their sinful nature. It's their free will. It's their creativity. It's who they are. It's their own personality is what makes them unique.
Their ability to question.
But you are to turn them into what they've done to you.
And
that's that stuff right there, that where I just have violent thoughts. That's all I have. And so I dissociate a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
so yeah.
Moving on. Number 7, withholding wages. We talked about that earlier. That's Kevin. We're paying him nothing.
I remember the generation of teen leaders that I was in kind of has like this great reputation of being the best group of teen leaders, right? When this particular person who was leading the teens moved back into this area, everybody was bum rushing he and his wife because they want the teen ministry that he had. And what it really was is that was a time where I truly was being labor trafficked. Again, there was campus, and then there's this time period. And there are too many stories. I might have to make a separate video about that, but pretty much you worked and then you were driving all over Hampton Roads to go get, hang out with teens. It's kind of like you were responsible for people's kids. It was a teen ministry where literally you shared the responsibility of these teenagers with their parents. And you were expected to pick them up. You were expected to hang out. I'm spending all this money on gas. I'm taking them out to Starbucks. I have no time. I'm so exhausted. This is a time where I didn't have children either. A lot of us didn't have kids. We were working full time and we were doing so much. And I remember this one parent, and I really think this parent caused this. This is just my thoughts. But anyway, we were getting ready to go to teen retreat. And of course, we, the teen leaders, we drive everybody's kids, right? And I remember a parent coming up because somebody said something about them giving us Wawa gas cards. And the parent came up and said, "How much is on that card?" Because I think people didn't know. We were working so hard. So I'm about to drop something. We were working so hard when they talked about this gas card. This is someone who's on the outskirts, right? Who doesn't really know the different levels of abuse. You know, they think the church is extreme, but they don't really feel it. But they had this bing moment when they heard we were getting Wawa gas cards. And I think they heard the amount on it. And we were so grateful. And they were like, "That's not a lot." Of course, we didn't know. We were so used to working so hard. And this parent came up to me and said, "So how often do you get these gas cards?" I was like, I think we got one 6 months ago. They were like, "What? How often are you getting together with teens?" I'm like, probably like 3 times a week. But on top of that, we had teen devos midweek, Sunday. And then we had to drive all the way out into the elders mansion way out in Virginia Beach at the oceanfront for leaders meeting, where we got scolded and told we still weren't doing enough. Okay. Every week.
But we're not being labor trafficked.
No, not at all. And this parent was like, okay, but you get paid, right? We were working so hard that all the parents thought that we were all on staff. And I saw the look in this parent's face and I was like, something's happening inside of me. Something is about to happen to them. And I said, no. And this parent went off. They were like, are you kidding me? Because they saw how hard we worked. The reason they accepted it was because all these parents had assumed that we were on staff, because they thought there's no way you're doing all of this, and they lost it. Next thing I know. And so this is what happens. There's different levels of abuse. They keep certain things, keep the lid on certain things, right? You just saw what that guy said. Do you love the church? So you're in this environment where people are being treated poorly, and you have different levels, but you're in an environment where you're not allowed to say anything. Because if you do, you're complaining. If you do anything, you are putting blemishes and stains on the bride of Christ.
And do everything without grumbling and complaining.
Exactly. So everyone is just doing whatever it is that they are called to do by the leadership. Everyone's being exploited differently. And all these parents found out at the same time what was happening. And we had this D group. We ended up having this D group with the elders, and the women were separated from the guys, I think. And this elder's wife came in and pretty much yelled at us and said, who told y'all to work so hard? We thought y'all were getting money from the parents. Y'all should never have been doing all of this without getting any help. And it was just this big gaslighting, like getting ahead of us being aware of what had been done to us, and pretty much saying, we didn't know how hard y'all were out here working. And it's really the parents' fault. They should have been helping you with their children. What were you doing? Yeah.
But y'all the one, like Kevin said, you inspecting.
Yes.
You're having the follow-up meetings with us.
Yes.
We're going over the list of all the names every other weekend at leaders meetings. You're asking us, when are we getting, what do you mean you did? The lying. I hate the lying, the gaslighting.
It was extreme gaslighting, because they were being called out now by these parents.
You're the one who told us to do all this.
This is how hard we were working, that even in this cult where hard work is the standard, these parents were enraged. And so they got together with us to say, it's definitely not our fault. You were ridiculous for doing all of this. This is the type of abuse that happens in a cult. And I remember that day, I kind of lost it. I snapped in that meeting. And I remember this one person who's also in the ministry now, she looked at me like you're going to be in trouble, but I think my cognitive dissonance was breaking, because I was like, no, you're the one who told us to work this hard. All of y'all, and of course she said, I must have misunderstood and all that stuff like that. And it's just wow. It's like, I wanted to do other things with my life. I was told, I think I mentioned this before, this is when I was in the same teen ministry and I wanted to go back to school. And my discipler, who was the teen ministry leader at the time, told me, you're just never satisfied. You're always looking for something else. You're never satisfied. She said that because I was about to do something that would take time away from the free labor she was getting from me. She told another person the same thing. She specifically told that person, I don't think you should go back and get your master's degree, because then where will you have time for the teen ministry? So I know of me and that person, I'm pretty sure they said it to other people. So that's why when I went back and actually got my degree, I did it in secret. I did it in secret because I knew this place would flip out. Right? I was a patsy. I was somebody who was easy to manipulate. So they had their thumb on me. I knew they would freak out if they found out I was doing something that would take away time from them. So I went back to school in secret. And you're going to tell me that labor trafficking isn't something in this church?
So I put the definition of labor trafficking here. Again, we talked about it at the beginning. This is the definition according to the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000, as amended 22 USC Simoleon 7102. I don't know if it's an actual Simoleon, but it looks like the money symbol on the sim game. And I just wanted to put this back up here because what really stood out to me, I don't know if y'all really grasped when Asha said, this parent said,
yeah,
y'all worked so hard.
Yeah,
I thought you were getting paid. That sounds like,
yeah.
Where's my finger? There it is. Involuntary servitude.
I have way more horror stories than that.
And I think we all do.
Yeah.
Okay. Voluntary. Nobody held a gun to her hand.
Yeah.
Go watch her video about why do people stay in cults. It is literal brainwashing. psychological kidnapping. Your brain is not your own. Bounded choice.
Yeah.
Like it goes very, very deep. So I don't want to hear that it wasn't involuntary. You could have, and gone where?
Yeah.
And gone, those poor interns that were in that slide and so many others, ourselves included. Do you know what they could have been doing if they weren't being told to evangelize with 100 people a day?
Yeah.
They could have had an actual internship.
Yeah.
And what's sad is that it is the unrealistic promise of employment or promotion because such a small fraction of people who do these internships actually get hired.
Yeah.
So you've taken away the opportunity when they're enrolled in university where they have access to executives. They have access to other internships and gainful employment. They have access to a network. They have access to getting certifications, degrees, networking, and all these things. And what are they doing literally on the streets? Evangelizing to people who administer and consume illegal substances. And that's no shame to addicts. That is no shade at all. They're also sharing with all kinds of people, strangers, but people who don't want it, mostly when they could be gaining profitable skills to build their lives. You think this is what they went to college? So many people, when they filled out their college applications or when they joined the military, because people evangelize on military bases, or when they get their job and their coworker invites them to lunch, and the lunch is basically a recruitment evangelism lunch. It's a love bombing session. Nobody goes to their new job. Nobody fills out their college application and thinks, oh, I hope I do absolutely nothing with this, but get sideswiped and hijacked so that way I can set up chairs and balloons for baby showers for people I don't know that well for the next 20 years of my life. And say it's because I love them so much and I just love God's church. That's involuntary. We were hijacked. Okay, so let's actually go back. Let's remove that and go back. Let me find it here to the lovely comment that started all of this. Did they take advantage of us serving everyone all the time? Without pay most of the time? Yeah. Do you know what that's called when you're serving all the time without pay? Indentured servitude. Involuntary servitude. Yeah, not indentured. Involuntary servitude, kind of, you're working for your freedom. If you serve enough, maybe they'll get off your back a little bit. That's all the time because you're tired. I remember feeling like I was so grateful to have time to do laundry. The fact that I got to go home to do laundry felt like a luxury. Then, further down, does that mean I labor trafficked? If I had them help for my wedding, bridal shower, planning my birthday, and watching my kids without pay, LOL? Do you know that those are actual jobs? Do you know those are actual jobs? Wedding planners, people who set up weddings, break down weddings, bridal showers. Those are event planners. They get paid. People who set up, people who clean up. Babysitters, care.com, nanny.com, without pay. You think that's what they want to do? These are not your mama. That's not their auntie. No matter how much you call them auntie, go watch our teen episode where Dion said as soon as he left the church, all his aunties and uncles that he had known his whole life, as soon as he left and he came out as gay, he never heard from them ever again. Ever again. These are not your relatives doing this out of the kindness of their heart. These are people who have been coerced and trained Pavlov's dog style, that if they find out that there's an event where they can bring a dish and they don't, they're going to get a scarlet letter. I was just reading on an online forum for ex-ICOC members earlier today that they have memories of it being chastised and humiliated for not staying after events to talk and fellowship long enough. What? So yeah, that is, okay, I am just toggling left and right here. That is restricted movement.
Yeah.
Limited freedom of movement. After they've worked all day and this person had kids, they can't even leave when they want to leave.
Yeah.
Without being torn apart and having a reputation about them. Are you kidding me? Yes, this is labor. If you take nothing away from this video, labor trafficking in the ICOC and ICC is valid. Here, look at the definition. Words and terms have meaning.
Yeah.
And we do our research before we come on here to just say things, such big allegations. You know what else is big? I'm going to show you. And you've seen it already. You know what else is a big deal? You know what else is extreme? No, nope, sorry. You know when you're trying to make a really epic point and it's just not working. Let's try again. Here we go. This is also extreme. How many disciples wrote to the Rolling Stones to say, oh, I don't think it's that bad?
And someone asked about any new lawsuits. They're always being filed. The last update that I saw just in the ICOC as a cult group, it showed rolling on July 10th. Just said, just this past July 10th, filed more lawsuits. I've lost count.
It's like thousands.
I've lost count.
Or thousands of like stories that go into these different lawsuits. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I would love to post a lot of your comments on the screen. So tall. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but yeah, people have very clean homes. We're not even talking about being pulled out of your house on the weekend to clean leaders' homes because they work so hard.
Yeah, and someone mentioned the 1-year challenge. Did you put that one up on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah,
AJ.
the 1-year challenge. And so that is when people graduate from college, instead of going straight into their career, they decide it's their gap year, but instead of touring Europe or South America, instead of diving into a passion project or a hobby or, you know, a nonprofit or something like that, instead of enriching themselves personally, it's more involuntary servitude. They're hardly ever paid, right? It's like unusual if they get paid.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people know. A lot of people for the 1-year challenge fund themselves.
Yeah. Because I was gonna say I did the 1-year challenge, and so did my roommate and bestie at that time. And we were not paid at all. And speaking of, during that year, we had, and this is another on the list, it says lack of personal belongings. Victims may have few personal victims may have few personal belongings or be provided with insufficient clothing, indicated a lack of personal autonomy. Oh, they didn't provide us any clothing. We had clothing because we're in America and our standard of poverty is a little different than the rest of the world. But we had so few belongings that the women's ministry leader preached about how empty our apartment was from the pulpit. I heard the sermons at least 2 times. And I had to look her because she didn't ask my permission. She didn't ask my permission to share that, I don't think. And she didn't tell me, she didn't use my name. Even though I think at the time that I want her to use my name, like, dang, if I'm gonna suffer and you're gonna tell my story, at least let me get a little clout out of it. But then I just had to remind myself, my treasure's in heaven. My treasure's in heaven. Don't seek recognition here. But she actually preached and she said, I just walked in to their flat. I don't know why she said flat because she's not European, but I walked into their flat and there was nothing. There was hardly any furniture. There was no art on any of the walls. They had nothing. And I had to ask myself, would I be willing to do that for the Lord? Meanwhile, and then going back to the whole, the number 1 restricted movement that like you can't really leave. Yeah, that was that one. You can't really leave. There was one time where I was really thinking about, after the 1-year challenge was over, do I want to move to Atlanta? Do I want to move to Philly? Do I want to move to Richmond? Do I want to go back home? Like, I just want to get away. I want to get away somewhere where I don't feel so insecure, where I don't feel like I have a scarlet letter, where I don't feel like a failure, where I can start over, where nobody knows me. I can rebuild myself. I can refine my love for God, because I was starting to lose it because I was just getting pounded into the, I was thinking about leaving. And then my campus leader at the time, my discipler, aka handler, was like, it just sounds like you're running from your problems. Every time things get hard, you want to run, which is very interesting to think about in retrospect, because I never went anywhere. I've been here. I came here for college and I never what are you talking about?
Those people will say anything to control you. That's hilarious. You literally have not gone anywhere.
I would like to.
And like she told me, it's not like I've had all these careers. Something you never satisfied.
What are you talking about?
Oh, I'm 27. What you talking about? I think I was probably 26. You never satisfied. Why? Because I'm in my 20s trying to figure out a career.
I want more for myself.
Lord, I stayed. Okay.
Yeah. So just even that, where it's like I had thought, and I wasn't even going to cut the 1-year challenge short. I just wanted to leave after, but she just knew that I would stay and I would continue to serve, and I would continue to be a little peon.
And that's how you know you're broken, because they just know the type of phrases to shut you down. I literally had done nothing yet with my life. You literally never went anywhere.
I was 23. I had just graduated college.
You just became an adult.
You always want to run.
And you always want to run.
Where have I been?
Where have you been? What have you been doing? This is what normal 20-something-year-olds do.
I graduated. I only did you remember? I'm not from here. I came here for school. School is done.
These people crazy, yo. And they continue it. It has not stopped. I cannot wait to watch all of these ICMC videos and throw more clips out, because that's the worst. It's always, I told you, the campus ministry is like Hydra. This is where the church respawns, and brings the new traumatized group of people to, destroy the earth. So, it's always great watching the ICMC videos. And then we got the new unbelievable conference coming. Cannot wait.
Someone please.
Cannot wait.
Please email me or DM me. I want to go so bad. Hold on. Let me find my information. Girl. Someone please go. If you have disposable income, which in this economy, who does? But like, please register and go and maybe record some videos and like of sermons and then also I want to see, is it empty? Is it full? Maybe you don't even have to register. Maybe don't pay. Just walk in and see, is it full? Is it full or not? Like, is it empty? Are people actually still going, or does it look like a ghost town? Kind of like Rachel Hollis's last tour, like I'm just so curious, and I really wanted to go in, but I don't think there's anything there's no sunglasses I could wear. There's no hoodie I could wear where I could go undetected. So, but I really want an inside look. We need somebody on the inside.
$130.
We won't.
Wow. For an adult.
That's
Singles,
a lot.
Yeah, that's more.
For a single?
Yeah.
For one person, it's $130.
Yeah,
they're out of their minds.
$90.
And it's probably because they know a lot of people are not going to come. So they're just
shepherding couple or eldership workshop, $45.
Well, okay. I thought that was bad, but then someone told me they think that's like an additional charge.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, what do you mean they only have to pay $45? But someone said they think it's maybe an additional charge.
Yeah, so they got to pay for their shepherding staff workshops on top of registration. Okay. They're going to do it, but they get that tax write-off.
Someone said, let me add that to the screen.
Speaking of the tax write-off, one of my friends, I think she said I could say
that's true. There's not many people there. What's the website, Asha?
Unbelievable2024.com. All one word. Unbelievable2024.
2024.com. I'm going to add it to the screen. So that's the conference for this year. And Ed Anton, I think, is the keynote speaker I saw somewhere.
The keynote.
Which is crazy because he's explicitly listed in the lawsuits.
But listen, those are the people they love in this organization. y'all need to understand that everybody who's abusive in this organization are in the leadership because that's what you have to be in order to be a leader in this organization, because they don't actually care about you. They're just trying to grow their downline. So you have to be abusive, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying?
Allegedly.
In my opinion.
Which is always right. Okay, so that was the 1 year challenge. That was wages. That was lack of personal belongings, that we had so little belongings that we got preached about anonymously from the pulpit. We were told we could not move away and that we always wanted more.
Which is why, as you can see behind us, there's no art on these walls. I got this new big house. Ain't nothing. I put a little plant there.
Where?
Behind you.
Oh. There it is.
Because I was trying to be like, look, we got
something.
Plant. Because I still have a hard time buying stuff for myself. The other day I finally...
Oh, my battery's low.
I do like little digital products and web design, and I illustrate on the side.
Charger.
And my computer only has 8 gigabytes of RAM. In order to open Photoshop, I got to delete my recycle bin, empty temporary files. And I've been doing this. And it didn't occur to me, get another computer with more RAM, because I'm so used to being like, I can make it work. I can make it work. I'm not high maintenance. I don't require a lot. I can make it work. Like that's the training I got from this call, and it's hard for me to break. So yeah, there's that little, word vomit, sharing and oversharing.
Did you have? Let's see. Is this the notes?
Yes. Oh, you.
I think my computer was dying. I think we said everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no. Sorry, we're all over the place. My computer was dying. So back to the wages. We're like back to the money again. Somehow we keep getting back to the money. I keep forgetting to say the women on staff, the full-time women's ministry staff.
Mm-hmm.
They get paid half of what the men make.
And listen, they're saying that they get paid half because they work part-time, because the other time they're taking care of the children.
When there are literally lessons about how you take your children with you to evangelize.
And it's literally a lie.
That too.
These women work like 3 times as hard as their husbands.
That as well.
Like,
because who's making all the food for the husbands' meetings?
Who's planning all the events? They're taking care of the kids and working twice as hard.
And honestly, a lot of times the women have to come behind the husbands at the end and be like, babe, you should probably apologize for this thing you said. Like, and the guys are always saying that, my wife told me that it might have been a little insensitive. She keeps me straight. So they're also literally like PR people.
Yeah, they are. And then I remember a certain women's ministry leader, I'm usually talking about the same two, was telling me how she was consistently fatigued. And she talked about how, like, I thought that I was getting, going on the same track as most women's ministry leaders, developing chronic fatigue syndrome. But thank God that's not it yet. This is a known thing that they develop autoimmune diseases or chronic fatigue syndrome specifically because they serve so much. But she was not saying it as a bad thing. She was saying it as a good thing, because this is what we do. We highlight not taking care of yourself. Why are all of the women's ministry leaders developing chronic fatigue syndrome? Because they are undervalued and overworked 24/7. And then because they are so angry and bitter about that, they push it on to the rest of us. Or they're in a misogynistic patriarchal system that rewards them for oppressing the rest of the women, and they love it. Sometimes the women are the worst. Somebody put in the comments that these people's wives are complicit. They are so complicit. You do know because you said it, but for the rest of y'all don't even know. They love it. What is wrong with you? Those women are the worst. They are the worst. They are terrible, what they do to other young women, because they get rewarded for it by these misogynistic, abusive men, in my opinion.
But not monetarily, because they still only make half.
No. It's the only thing that gives them significance. They get significance.
They get told they did a good job
in this system. They get turned into a queen of this system to make sure they keep all of the rest of the women oppressed and sad. I'll never forget, Nikita talked about the physical violence that happened to a lot of wives. I'll never forget going to a leader to alert her of behavior that I felt like was violent. And she laughed and said, "Oh, she says things to provoke him. She always brings up the past. It just makes him upset. We're working on it." And she giggled.
It's disgusting.
She giggled.
But hate what Jesus hates.
But hate what Jesus hates. Protect. God loves his church. He doesn't love you, though. But he loves his church.
But you are the sinful one for daring to say that is wrong. How dare you be critical of your leader?
Yep.
Are you bitter? When's the last time you served her?
Mm-hmm.
Are you bitter? Don't be bitter. A bitter root will grow up and defile. Forgive or you will not be forgiven.
These people, their brains have been stolen. Someone just left a comment, and then I responded to Nikita today about on the video where her and Tanya are talking about all of the abuse that Tanya saw firsthand. And they said, yeah, I'm a little concerned about all this abuse and how the leaders are responding to it. But Tanya and Nikita, y'all really need to be careful about how angry y'all are.
Don't be bitter.
You came on to acknowledge that there is child SA running rampant that people aren't responding to, but you want to warn Nikita and Tanya. I think I already said this. You want to warn them. You're messed up in the head when you're a part of this organization, yo. Me too, Laura. So glad to be out. So glad to not be a sane washing piece of trash. I'm talking about me, not you. But that's how I feel. Because these are people that I try to make up for somehow. Behaviors that I try to twist to make it okay. Because I had no choice but to make it okay, right? I'm brainwashed. I can't say anything about God's church or God will smite me. That's how twist. So when I say these people are sick, there's something wrong with them, I know it. I know it firsthand because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to take up for these people and their terrible behavior while people are literally being harmed, where women are coming to church black and blue. But I can't say anything about what this leader said. I have to somehow believe that she knows what she's doing, even though this woman has walked into church black and blue. And I tried to warn her, but somehow I'm wrong. I don't know how, but I'm just not going to say anything. I don't know, but I tried. Maybe God's in control. Maybe they tried to talk to him. And you run yourself crazy, drive yourself crazy.
Or even the other sister who had just lost her child.
Oh my God.
Who had just lost her child.
Oh my God.
And took a beat, just took a breath. Before, I don't even think she missed that much church. Was she just late? Or maybe she missed one service or something? I don't know. It wasn't much at all. And she came, and a prominent woman in the church, and I say it that way because I can't remember if she was staff or just one of the pillar people, like myself or Asha or something, and said, the Bible says not to give up meeting with each other. It doesn't say that you can do it except if your child dies.
Mm-hmm. This person disappeared on us. And I remember calling and seeing if we can hang out. And she just disappeared. I understand white people disappear now because you're not well. You're not well part of that organization, in my opinion. Of course, when she saw our videos come out, she contacted me and let me know that that's what she was told. That's what someone said to her. She said, and that's when I ghosted y'all. And I was like, of course you did. I was disgusted. I know it was sad, though. I believe every word.
Because why would she make that up?
Why would she she was in pain. She was like, y'all don't understand how much pain I was in. She said, then 2 years later, one of the women's ministry leaders, remember, I'm only talking about 2, reached out to her. same one, reached out to her and said, you know, hey, I understand that you were grieving now. I didn't understand that before. Like, she was going to be like, praise the Lord, I'm coming back to church.
Oh,
like, she
your
was gonna be so
child.
grateful that you understand now. And I don't know what really made that person do that.
I feel like you learned that in preschool. You learned that in preschool.
She pretty much acknowledged that I just read a book about grieving, and now I know what to say to potentially get you back, because I really am a monster who lacks empathy. Did it work? Did it work? No?
Not.
Dang it.
It's not the same. It's not the same extreme, but it's like similar.
Oh my God.
Where, again, in the race video, it was a white elder. Was it
Hmm.
Colorado? I think it was Colorado. And he was like, did he call them the blacks? I think so at one point.
Wait a minute.
The blacks. I think it was just quick. It was like subtle one time. I think so, but I can't remember. Or maybe he said something that was so blatant he might as well. But basically he was like,
man.
yeah, so we really started talking to them, and they told us that they like to be listened to. He's talking about the black members of the church. We polled them, and they said they like to be listened to. They like to feel like we care when they're hurting, when they see members of their community facing violence in the news. They like it when they feel like we're listening to them. That I just feel like it's not the same as losing a child. Well, maybe it's similar because you hear about the mass losing of so many of our youth, but like just similar. Like, why did someone have to explain that? You didn't know that people like to be listened to? Oh, because we're black and we're not on staff.
But you know what that really exposes more than anything? These are the type of people you've been dealing with. These are the type of people that go into leadership, people who don't understand that they should listen to people.
Or that when someone's child passes away, they might not feel like coming to church for a while.
Yeah.
And that maybe you should consider them.
Yeah.
And what's wild is it just really feeds their narrative. Because I can't remember which video, but I shared this on another one where when a young woman who, I can't remember if she was a disciple or not. I know she was a kingdom kid, and she came. So someone who was born into the church, and she came to join our campus ministry, but I can't remember if she was baptized or not. So, but we were trying to like love bomb her and get her to basically pledge her allegiance to us. And she had a friend who passed away. And when the women's ministry leader who was training me found out that, because I'm a full-time college student at this point, and I'm overseeing several of the campus ministries, and I'm a full-time college student in my senior year, dealing with anxiety and depression, but I don't know, because every time I've asked her, who is actually a medical doctor, she tells me that it's probably by unrepentant sin, and because I haven't studied out faithfulness and gratitude enough. Anyway, I'm dealing with all these things. When she finds out that I did not drop everything and use the money I don't have to buy her chocolate and candy and food and go sit with her on her campus, she yelled at me on the phone for like 20 minutes. I was actually sobbing on the phone at the end. I didn't want her to know, but her rant ended sooner than I thought it would. And she kept asking me for a response. So I had to be like, yes. And then I think she just realized she pushed too far. And then all of a sudden she was apologetic or whatever. But like, when this campus girl's friend passed away, she obliterated me because we were trying to recruit. Remember, always be, oh, I lost it. Gosh darn it. Always be converting. But since this sister was already converted, her young child passed away.
Yes.
And she was mocked and criticized.
Yes. There you go. There you go.
Isn't it interesting? My, how the turns table. That's an Office reference.
Yeah.
But that's disgusting. And it just shows that it feeds the machine. This is not about God.
Yeah.
This is not about God. This is about the numbers.
Yeah.
This is about the numbers. This is about the appearance. This is about the machine.
That's all it's about.
And you want to say this isn't labor traffic? Her child passed away.
And they were concerned about her
Attendance. That doesn't sound like restricted movement. That doesn't sound like involuntary servitude, you being somewhere and feeling like you don't have a choice. You don't think labor trafficking happens? You think that we were just a little taken advantage of. Love your content, but I don't think I agree with this.
Yeah.
Have we presented enough information? That's what this is. This is education. Because I know sometimes in little shorts and reels and TikToks, it's provocative. It's short, right? You can't know everything in 10 to 60 seconds.
Yeah.
So thank you. And I mean, and I guess not thank you. You didn't ask anything. I mean, you asked something facetiously. Does that mean that I did it? Yes, it does. It does. But for anyone who had the question, for anyone who saw any of my little shorts and thought like labor trafficking, whoa, that's a bit inflammatory. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it not inflammatory to ask someone where they've been or to say the Bible says you need to be here after their child passed away and not apologizing that for another 2 years after you read some bogus book? Is that not extreme? Stop coming in our comments and acting like we don't know what we know. Because there are zillions of stories. This could be 5 times longer.
It is. I mean, we know it is, but I've heard people's stories and I am just floored. Just floored.
This is the tip of the iceberg.
It is the tip of the iceberg.
You guys don't even know. Well, you do. You do. If you're in the chat, like if you're here at this point, you probably know. You probably have some stories of your own. But like there are so many more stories I could tell right now, but we've been here like 2.5 hours.
And yes, this person's comment triggered this discussion. But I think especially for me, I'm like, I hear a person like that and I'm reminded of what this hive of people, what they're capable of doing. This is the rhetoric that is used to keep people stuck, to keep people questioning themselves. And I was like, if this is someone who is out of the organization and it literally describes labor trafficking, but can't see that that's what they're describing and is opening their mouth to pretty much say you're out of order, instead of realizing that they literally wrote out labor trafficking. What is happening to people in this system who are trying to come up for air, trying to get some clarity? I know what's happening to them. I tried to get clarity so many times.
And people tell you don't know what you're talking about.
And and so what's happening is, and this is something that I want to say, whether it's lack of education or I tend to think that there are people who honestly benefit from this system. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who benefit from the system, and your truth is inconvenient for them. So they are willing to allow you to be collateral damage. They're willing. They're willing to allow you to suffer so that you don't distort this system, this reality that they benefit from. They're willing to do that.
Because she talks about how she benefited from it.
She does.
Does that mean that I did it?
And there are a lot of people who do that. A lot of people who will not fully acknowledge, even though they do acknowledge, they're willing to minimize, shut you down so that your truth does not affect a system they benefit from or have benefited from. Don't let them do that to you. I cannot say that enough. And that's why we're talking so much. I want to say that what's happening to you, what you're experiencing, what you're thinking is real. You do not need those people to validate you. There is a darkness in those people that they are willing to allow you to suffer. They are willing to not listen to you. They are willing to minimize your truth so that you don't break their fantasy. People are willing to do that. They are. That is not your responsibility. Get out. Me and Nikita believe you. The people in the chat believe you. We believe you. You matter. God does not want you suffering so that you don't speak poorly about his church. You are his church. He cares about you. The church is supposed to love people and care about them. That's what it's for. That's what it's for. Get out of there. If someone is saying stuff to you like you saw in this comment, understand that there is something wrong with them and just go. For whatever reason, I don't know what's wrong with them. They're uninformed. I doubt that they're uninformed. Nikita hears me go on and on about this. There is this population of people who left or who are on the outskirts of this church who know that they're toxic, but they still stay. So they're willing to only be vocal to shut you down. Someone who says this whole system is bad and people need to be set free from it. For whatever reason, they don't want that. And I don't know what's wrong with them. I'll figure it out one day, but just go. Don't let those people gaslight you, please. Don't let them. I don't know what's wrong with them. Do not let them gaslight you. Get out of there. This is a special population. I'm going to figure them out one day.
Literally, Asha has been talking about this, I think, since we started doing the videos.
Yeah.
She's like, I can't put my finger on. She comes up with different hypotheses.
I do. And I have a whole bunch. I just still feel like there's something else. And then I was talking to another friend. She said it's an empathy issue. I was like, it is. There's something where it's like, yeah, this church hurts people, exploits people, does all these things. But I just don't let it bother me. And so, yeah, it doesn't bother me, and I get something from it. So if you talk to me, you might get gaslit, or you might get shamed, or I might blame you for why you let this place control you or something. They do that. Get away from them, okay? Throw them in the trash. Don't listen.
Oh, well, we have some comments.
Yeah.
Yep, there we go. Emojis. Thank you.
They're willing to let you be collateral damage so that they can keep benefiting from this system.
I was going to conclude. Was there anything else you wanted to say? Were there any other topics you wanted to cover before we
No, that was a big one.
Let me see. There was a story, but it's getting long. Yeah, I think we talked about everything. And just remember that other guy who was like, do you love God's church? My gracious. Can you do it? Because I don't want to accidentally exit out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, touch screen.
Okay, thanks. Do you love God's church? That just happened a couple of weeks ago.
Just a couple weeks ago.
2024. So yes, I love the Kevin Miller clip. It's so great. It's just beautiful. He just really did a good job of, and you should watch the whole thing. Again, if you go to my Leaders Speak for Themselves video, it's longer, but then if you just find the actual video, you can hear him without my commentary, and he's truly speaking for himself.
Yeah.
It's wild. But the recent one, this guy just recently, like a couple, and people are still talking about that lesson and how fired up they are because of it, and how convicted.
That's how I found out it happened, because people were like, I was so convicted. It was such a amazing time. I was like, wait, when? And I jumped on my iPad. I was like, it was ICC.
Oh my gosh.
People literally were saying how great it was. So yeah.
I know you're exhausted. I know you smell. There's tired eyes.
There's baggy eyes. There's exhaustion.
Some of y'all probably had to share hotel rooms, so some of you were sleeping on the floor. You're just so radical. He didn't say that, but I just know that that's what happens at these international conferences. Ask me how I know.
I still have dreams about that.
Do you?
I do. I have dreams.
That's a nightmare.
I have dreams, y'all, that I am with a bunch of sisters and we are going to a conference or something, and we end up at this hotel room of somebody's house and we don't know where we're going to sleep. That's how you know something is a trauma, when it's a repetitive dream.
Moving on. In summary, Here's a quote that I found that I thought was really great to wrap up all of this.
The kid is like, girl, you done went too far.
I just pulled a women's ministry leader on you.
That's why I don't talk about it. You see how awkward it just got?
Thank you for sharing. Oh my gosh. We tend to think of human trafficking as a foreign issue, not something that could happen here in our own backyards, but it's a fast-growing problem in the United States in every area with no real defined demographic. BrainyQuote.com told me Lori Foster said this. I don't know who Lori Foster is or if she said this, but I trust Brainy Quote.
Yeah.
So there we go. You can take a screenshot of that if you like. You can go look it up. If this is completely fake news, please tell me in the comments to boost my engagement.
Yeah. American novelist, Lori Foster.
Well, she doesn't look like the type of person to say that, but we love an ally. We love a multi-hyphenate. You can do all the things.
Yeah.
Lori, be the everything Barbie. We love someone with empathy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a real problem. It is valid, and it can take on many, many, many faces.
Yeah.
Please, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If there was any particular part of this that really struck a nerve, please leave it in the comments. Let me just say something. Say hi. Where are you? I think it would be cool to know where everybody's from.
Yeah.
And how far these are reaching and things like that. But I also very much understand that a lot of people who are maybe in the space of watching these things don't want people to know that they are watching these things. So I understand that as well. Anyway, as we always like to say when we wrap these things up, stay safe and stay free, because every day is a good day to not be in a cult. Happy Labor Day weekend, and hopefully you're not getting labor trafficked. Bye.
Bye.